group of 7. And you'll see here the fabulous Dave Murphy. Everybody knows him, and Maritas as well. She was a friend of our founder, Suzanne Leiter. Suzanne was diagnosed with synovial sarcoma, and then you'll see our other founder, Wendy Summers. Suzanne met Wendy 4 years after she was first diagnosed, and she said that was far too long to meet another person who was diagnosed with sarcoma and become friends. So she really established the Sarcoma Alliance. That's why we're here today. And also we have, one of our signature programs is the Hand in Hand Assistance Fund, which I'll explain a little bit more later on in this presentation. But it is named for our founder, Suzanne Leiter. So now we've grown. We now have incorporated the Sarcoma Exchange Conference, which you all are participating in here today. And we now have more than 12,000 community supporters who are part of our community. We have, this is from last year, 9,600 support group members, but now we've topped more than 10,000. Hopefully everyone is signed up on our Facebook page. And we also provide, last year we did 76 financial assistance grants, totaling more than $30,000, which some of the grant recipients are in this room as well, to ensure that you seek out a consultation from a sarcoma specialist. We have 735 informational Facebook news page posts with lots of great information. Joan Darling runs a lot of our information on that page and really helps provide the information to our community. And then we've fulfilled more than 2,000 requests for programs and services. So one of the things that we do is we have a one-to-one health navigation nurse, clinically trained, who you can call and provide information and seek out resources. And she's very, very helpful. Her name is Pam Cresta, if you haven't already spoken to her. We have 94 sarcoma centers now across the United States. And we have more than 150 website links on our page for additional resources. And this could be anything from medical journals about sarcoma, information on travel, hotel, lodging, all kinds of good resources for folks while you're going through treatment, or other resources as you are a caregiver or survivor. So I spoke a little bit about the assistance grants program. We have our support groups both online, and then we have a full listing on our website as well. So you can find your support group that is particular to sarcoma within your region or state. We have our peer-to-peer program, which I spoke a little bit earlier about. If you're uncomfortable with posting things on Facebook, that we do match folks who have a sarcoma subtype as well, based on geographic location, so that they can help facilitate relationships with people who understand this journey. We also participate in, of course, Sarcoma Awareness Month, which is important. Everyone's wearing their yellow to show support and awareness. And then we have a variety of other communication vehicles, whether it's our website, which I monitor and update. We have our Facebook news page, which is run by Joan. We have our e-newsletter that provides up-to-date information, which is produced quarterly. And then we also have brochures, information packets that are created and distributed by Pam. The one-to-one health navigation, where you can call anytime, our office. And then we have our sarcoma centers list, which is a robust 94 different centers to take a look at with their affiliated websites, contact information, and then of course others. We're here to help, right? So the Hand in Hand Assistance Fund, we provide up to $500 to each applicant Currently, that's the maximum, and we want to ensure that individuals get those second opinions from sarcoma specialists that Dr. Rosenberg plugged earlier. Thank you. I didn't prep them at all for that. There's no financial needs requirement, and it covers everything from co-pays to lodging, transportation, and meals. We do have some applications outside of these doors on the Sarcoma Alliance table, so you can look at that in more detail. And then our support groups, right now, I'm sure probably most everyone in this room is on the support group page on our Facebook group. We have more than 10,000 people who are now part of that, and everyone participates in anything from showing support for someone who may have an upcoming scan, and just providing more information and feedback for each other is really important. We have right now we have 8 admin volunteers who dedicate many hours a year going through posted information. We are recruiting more volunteers because it is a lot to manage. We also have in-person support groups, and even later today within the Sarcoma Exchange, we will have breakout sessions facilitated by volunteers. And then of course we have many others listed on the website that we keep updated. The peer-to-peer program is really to facilitate sarcoma patient relationships. We've also added in some caregivers and survivors. It really is preferred by individuals who value privacy versus social media connections. We understand that. And really the 3 parameters on how we like to connect people are really based on where they physically live, the subtype, and if they're metastatic or not. And then this is just a nice visual from the Sarcoma Exchange last year. Last year we had 29 states represented, so we had 147 attendees, 21 sarcoma subtypes represented, which is great. And then we had, of course, Susie, who was our 48-year sarcoma survivor, longest since diagnosis, and she's back again this year, which is great. So we have this as an annual conference, and this will continue to be part of our programming. We had such a positive feedback and evaluation from last year that we'll continue to include it as part of our program. First one was last year, and then we're going to hold it in a different city every year. So it won't be in Miami next year, but we'll see. I'll share a little bit more about that later. Last year, our survey results rates were very good. The overall event, very high, more than 4 out of 5. Same thing with the program sections. And our attendee from farthest away was Oregon, so Washington already has all beat. And then I'm sure Lori's going to talk a lot more about Sarcoma Awareness Month. Sarcoma Foundation of America is our sister organization, and that was deemed by our founder, Suzanne Leiter. We've always had a really good relationship working together. But Sarcoma Foundation of America is very focused on awareness and advocacy. Lori's amazing. And they've done a fabulous job sharing more and raising the profile of sarcoma in not only the medical community, but also the general public. You might have heard some of their PSAs, which is great. And so we're piggybacking on all of that. And I think, raising awareness, whether it's through the Yellow Initiative, which is wearing yellow, which is the ribbon and color for sarcoma. We also have our Sunflower Days, where we cheer patients and share a little bit about Sarcoma Alliance and share sunflower seeds, and we send them to sarcoma centers to share. And then we have a wonderful graphic designer, Kevin Plotner, who's part of our board, and he creates these beautiful designed factoids that we share also during the month of July, which is Sarcoma Awareness Month. So we encourage you to do what you can in your own local community. As I mentioned earlier, we have a really robust website with lots of information. Feel free to check it out. I am continually updating this on how to get involved, upcoming events, support groups, all kinds of good stuff for you to take a look at. And then we actually have printed out a bunch of the testimonials about being part of this community and folks who have really benefited from the Sarcoma Alliance programs and services. So if you take a look, you see them on the stanchions. I'll just read a couple to you. It said, "I was searching the internet to find information about my cancer. I'm glad I found you. I'm not alone. Tony. I am forever thankful to the Sarcoma Alliance for referral for a second opinion program. Is the greatest gift a sarcoma patient and their family can receive. For us, it was a gift of life. Pain-free quality life from Vicky." So I definitely encourage you to take a look at these around the room and then also write your own too. There's some blank note cards as well. We had some good testimonials from last year as well. From the exchange. Thank you so much for providing me with new info. It gives me a lot more hope. Thank you for having a great Sarcoma exchange. This really is going to change my life. Thank you. And as always, you can visit our website, sarcomaalliance.org, or reach out to me directly, aodriscoll@sarcomaalliance.org. And then, yeah, so I think that's it. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce to you Lori Hoffman, who is the Sarcoma Foundation of America, basically interim CEO. Oh, no. She's been a fabulous charitable partner, and we're so excited to hear from them on what their current initiatives are. And then Gilda's Cancer Support Community, are you in the back? Okay, great. Then we'll hear from Kim, and then we'll have time for questions. We also have an impromptu speaker, Stephanie, and I'll introduce her later. Okay, so go for it, Lori.
You can go either there. Okay, I'll go here if that's, yeah. Hi guys, can everyone hear me? No? Now? Dave, was that a thumbs up from the back of the room? All right, thanks everybody. Hi, as Alyssa said, my name is Lori Hoffman. I'm Director of Research and External Affairs for the Sarcoma Foundation of America. Definitely not our CEO. We are currently searching for a new executive director. So there are some things that I am working on that position can be done. It's business as usual at the SFA, and we've been promised that position. I want to clarify, you hear the title Director of Research and External Affairs. Just want to make it very clear, I don't perform research, I'm not a researcher. It's simply a function of helping to coordinate our research efforts. But just want to put that caveat out there about what I do for the organization. So I handle, like I said, research, but essentially I touch all the programmatic efforts at the SFA. That includes advocacy, government affairs, it includes communication, patient education, and other outreach to interested stakeholders who want to be more involved in sarcoma. Okay, there we go. So just to start off, for those who are not familiar with the SFA, as Alyssa kind of mentioned, the crux of what the SFA does is research-based and research-focused. You can see from our mission is to advocate for sarcoma patients by funding research and by increasing awareness about the disease. The organization raises money to privately fund grants for sarcoma researchers and conducts education and advocacy efforts on behalf of sarcoma patients. I'd like to say the heart of what we do is connected to research. A lot of our advocacy efforts are about encouraging more federal funds for research. We want to make sure that researchers stay in the space. One thing that would be of concern is if federal monies are cut, how does that impact folks who want to be able to go into sarcoma research, but wouldn't have the support to do so? So everything, whether it be our education or advocacy, in some way circles back to research. Also, as Alyssa said, we often refer the Alliance SFA as sister organizations. And while there's no direct connection, we are not directly affiliated with one another. Our two missions complement each other very nicely. We often refer patients to the Alliance when they're looking for second opinions. I know if people are interested in research, they often direct them our way. So while there isn't that legal connection, if you will, we work very well together. It's a great example of organizations kind of collaborating in the space. And with that, thank you very much to Alyssa and the Alliance for including us here today. Wrong way. Just a brief history. SFA was founded in 2000. Can't believe we're heading into toward 20 years. It was one of your typical patient advocacy groups, basically started around a kitchen table, if you will. Our founders, Dr. Mark Thornton and Tricia Thornton, their son was diagnosed with sarcoma when he was 3. And at the time, they were struggling to find information on research, on advancements in the space. They found Dr. Jack Brooks at the University of Pennsylvania, and together founded the SFA. First research awards were funded in 2003. There were 3 research awards that year, each worth up to $25,000. In 2019, we funded 15 awards, each worth $50,000. So it's clearly grown from that first year. 2005 held our first patient education conference, one in New York, and it was one in New York every year for quite a while. The program was later expanded. And then finally, our newest piece to the puzzle, if you will, our Race to Cure Sarcoma series.
I can be your model.
Oh, thank you. Here we go.
Our inaugural one, the first one in Louisville, Kentucky,
That's
last
right.
month. And we
Good
raised
job.
what, like $170,000.
That was about it was a great effort. And it started off with 3 races. It has grown now to 13. Plus a virtual event, so you can race virtually if there's not one in a city near you. 5,000 people, more than 5,000 people have already attended in 2019, and we still have 5 more events to go. Those events are designed to raise money specifically for research. In some cities, there is a race partner institution. If that's the case, 50% of the proceeds stay at that institution to support local sarcoma research, and the other 50% comes to the SFA. So these are the basics. I kind of touched upon those pillars of programs at the SFA. Research, patient advocacy, patient education, and awareness. So research. Since those first grants, we have now funded more than $9.6 million in sarcoma research. A little more than $7 million of that comes from this first column, our traditional research grant program. That's the research, the grants and awards that are actually coordinated in-house by the SFA. The newest member of our team, Sally Eatman, back here, say hi everybody. She joined us just about a month ago, actually. She's a program manager who's going to be handling the administration of these grants. We are about to open our 2020 cycle. It opens on October 1st. Researchers can start applying on that date. And we have more awards to give out. They are officially awarded in April of next year, but the process starts in October. But today, you can see of that program, we've had 140 grants, 60 researchers, and more than 100 research institutions that have received funds. We also invest in research through collaborations with other organizations. A couple examples of that would be we've supported efforts through SARC and have also supported efforts through the Conquer Cancer Foundation. And lastly, just touched upon it a moment ago, we have invested heavily in research institutions through our RTCS program. So on patient advocacy, We actually are actively involved in government affairs and patient advocacy efforts, both regulatory and legislative. And that can be on anything, but a primary area of interest, again, is ensuring robust funding for federal research dollars in sarcoma. We have provided opportunities for patients and others to come to Washington, D.C. We are based right outside of D.C., so it's easy for us to be in the mix. But we have awarded scholarships to people, and actually Amanda, are you in here? Yeah. Amanda, say hi. Amanda is a recipient of one of our scholarship awards from earlier this year, attending the One Voice Against Cancer Lobby Day. And that's a day entirely devoted to encouraging legislators to keep those dollars for the National Cancer Institute high, and also funding for the FDA and the CDC. And lastly, on that space, SFA works with coalitions, specifically coalitions in the Washington, D.C. area focused on cancer issues. Some of those are general, some of those are research focused. We belong to the Alliance for Childhood Cancer as well. So we know that our voice can seem small in the big sea of oncology. And it's important for us to work in coalition and amplify our voice with working with others who have sometimes louder voices just because of their numbers. Oh, on the advocacy front, just a note that there is actually an upcoming event that's being hosted by the Food and Drug Administration. And the official title of it is Partners in Progress, Cancer Patient Advocates and the FDA. This is a one-day kind of FDA 101, if you will. They are encouraging those who want to become cancer advocates, who want to understand more about the FDA, more about the drug approval process, to join this one-day panel or this one-day conference. You can join in person if you're in the DC area. Otherwise, it's going to be webcast. So I would encourage any of you who are interested in patient advocacy or who want to know more about the process to sign up for this webinar. I think it's going to be very valuable. You're going to get a great education on how the process works. It's going to be held on October 8th. You just have to register by October 7th. I don't have the direct link. You know how those links are. There would probably be a million different characters and numbers at the end. But if you go to fda.gov, you should be able to find information to register if you're interested in being a part of the day. Patient education, as I mentioned, we started off in 2005 with one conference that was connected to our gala in New York City. It has since been expanded. There are 2 events left for 2019 in Boston and in Portland. And the other kind of area of education that we do is making sure that patients have access to clinical trial information. So our website is updated as often as we can when we're notified, when we know of a trial that needs to be added. And we're always happy if we get that information to add it to our website. There's also some navigation tools as well as links to clinicaltrials.gov. And sarcoma awareness, another big area for us. Again, Alyssa mentioned 2 of the areas that I was going to point out. There has been a sarcoma resolution, or Sarcoma Awareness Month resolution, that was introduced in the House of Representatives this year. It's been introduced several times before. This year, the lead sponsor of that measure was Representative Duffy from Wisconsin. It did not get adopted before July. And unfortunately, Representative Duffy has resigned from Congress. So we have unfortunately lost a champion who might have been willing to push this issue for us. Doesn't mean we're going to give up, but that's kind of where we are with what's been introduced. So we have to do a little more work to start over again. I want to give a shout out to a couple people who have really been invested in this issue outside of the SFA, who worked very hard. Whenever I talk about Sarcoma Awareness Month, I can't do it without pointing out Susie Siegel, who has been leading, part of the effort on this for years and years. She worked with Representative Castor's office from Florida to have it introduced in the past. And of course, Annie O'Shea, your work on this. It's been an area that Annie has also been trying to help and identify sponsors and folks to work on it. Yep. So we're going to keep working on that, guys. This is an area where we need help. when these are introduced, when we find champions, and actually we need help finding champions. If you know a member of Congress, if you have a neighbor who's connected to somebody in the U.S. Senate, whatever that might be, reach out to any of our organizations. Let us know who it is. We want to see this happen. It doesn't change things. It doesn't magically help us get to a cure. It doesn't help us develop new therapies. But none of us can do our jobs if people don't know what sarcoma is. It's a huge part of advocacy efforts. And so if anyone ever has any ideas, and if we ask to make phone calls or write letters to members of Congress to urge them to adopt a resolution, it's really going to take all of our voices kind of united together to get this done. And then lastly, the public service announcements. Has anyone heard any of the public? I've got a couple hands. Great. We launched this PSA program a couple of years ago. The newest PSA is called Sarcoma Heroes. And it really is all about how we need every do-gooder, hero, sidekick, whoever it is, to join in the fight. Not just people who are in the sarcoma community, but we need people who have not yet been touched by sarcoma to join in that fight with us to make a difference. So that's kind of SFA in a nutshell. These are the programs that we have. They are happy to answer any questions, but that's it.
So next up is Kim Praitano from Cancer Support Community and Gilda's Club right here in the Miami area.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm so glad to partner. Just out of curiosity, how many in the room know remember Gilda Radner? Oh, good. All right. This is a room that remembers Gilda Radner. Many young people come to visit Gilda's Club South Florida, and they know Saturday Night Live, but they don't remember Gilda Radner. And I ask that because our organization really is built on, in memory of her humor and her energy in life. And we're just so happy to continue the memory of her. And one of the things that Gilda Radner wanted was a place for people to go where they would not have to experience cancer alone. And I heard my colleagues say before, I heard Alyssa say that Suzanne, the founder of the Sarcoma Exchange, she didn't want to go so long without finding someone else that shared the same experience. And Gilda traveled. She was a comedian, she was an actress, she was at the height of her career, and she wanted a place where people could go and share their experience and get strength and hope from other people. And she had a lot of money. She had the resources to do that. She hired her own therapist to do that. And she knew that most people around the country could not do that. And when she died, her then husband, Gene Wilder, started Gilda's Club. And soon after Gilda's Club in Manhattan opened up, the founders, some of the doctors that were in the South Florida area got together and said, I wonder if he would come here and help us. And they called him, and he did. And that's how Gilda's Club South Florida started. We have many more people than we can serve. And I want to talk a little bit about our mission and the services that we provide. Our mission is to ensure that all those impacted by cancer are empowered by knowledge, strengthened by action, and sustained by community. And our whole model is forming a community. So we are a physical location where people come in person, and they come there for many different things, but based on the same need. So the increased strength, the loss of control and hope, and the social isolation is really what our services are built on. And the 5 core components of those services, I'll explain a little bit about each one. The support groups and services, you're going to find out a little bit more information in the next session when you experience some support groups of your own. Belinda Paulison is our director of programs and all of our clinical services. She's here in the audience. I'm going to ask her to stand. She's in the back, because if you have any questions, she's the person that you want to talk to. She's extremely experienced in the clinical support area, and we're so lucky to have her. So support, education, healthy living classes, social connections, and linkage and referral. So I'll start with the support services. People come to Gilda's, they come on a tour, they find out what we have to offer, ask whatever questions they want, and they have their own individual plan of what areas they would like resources in, what their needs are, what they would like help with. We have support groups for not only patients, but for caregivers, family members, and children. And we do help people with all types of cancers. We also have bereavement groups. We have short-term counseling up to 7 sessions. And we try to make people aware of, I heard a lot of online resources. Many of our members are coming in person, but they also have family at home that might not be able to come in person. And there's so many more people than those that we reach. And we want to expand our services in that area in the future. Our second core component is education. We have lectures, probably at least 2 a month in person. We do have a conference, but we want to not only build awareness, but skills in the people who are coming to Gilda's Club. Probably right now, the most common programs that we have are healthy living classes. Many people don't necessarily walk through the door and say, I want to attend a support group. They come in the door because they want some control over nutrition. They want to take our yoga courses. They want Tai Chi. They want mindfulness. And as you know, those classes are pretty expensive. All of our services are free. There's no income limits. So people feel comfortable coming for our healthy living classes. And then while they're there, they often find out about all of the other resources that we have to offer. We also have expressive arts. We have a volunteer who has been, she's a juried artist from London, and she has been volunteering for us for 23 years, teaching art class. And last year in June, she came to me and she said she wanted to take a vacation, if that would be okay, because she has never taken off. Those are the kinds of volunteers that we have at Gilda, so we're very lucky. And we also have many health maintenance and awareness classes. Our social connections are in typical Gilda fashion. We recently, for the first time, we had our first annual Gilda's Got Talent. And our members got together and they had a talent show. We believe in laughter and having fun. Often you'll walk through the building on support group night and maybe expect tears and hear a roar of laughter in the rooms. We want to bring people together and sometimes not talk about cancer. In October, we have one of our biggest events coming up. It's called Noogie Fest. It's our Halloween festival, and the adults probably have more fun than the kids. Everyone comes dressed in costume. And we want to encourage those social activities and networking. So the library that we have is a lending library, but we also have, we're a part of the cancer support community, which is our national headquarters. Gilda's clubs, most of them chose to keep the name because We started in honor of Gilda Radner. It's our branding, but we are part of a big national community called the Cancer Support Community. And that's where our national office is, where you'll find the majority of research, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I have more slides on that because it's something that I think we really could collaborate more with the sarcoma community. And again, awareness of online information. So nationally, many of you here are not from Florida. If you are from Florida, I encourage you to see Belinda and see what services you might be interested in. But if you're interested in other services around the country, we do have a helpline. It's 888-793-9355. And I have more information with that number on it at the exhibit table. But again, you could reach out and get help and find out where there's a Gilda's Club or a cancer support community in your community. MyLifeline.org is a company that we just acquired at Cancer Support Community, and it's really a digital platform, and that's where we're really going to build our online services for people with all types of cancer and caregivers. It started as an online platform that helped people organize and manage their care. Who can help me with dinner? Who can help with transportation to doctor's appointments? You get a lot of people sometimes that say, how can I help? Well, mylifeline.org was the mechanism and the facilitator for how people can help. Family members would put something online and say, we need somebody to help Mary with dinner on Monday. We have doctor's appointments on Tuesday. That's how it started, and it became so much more. We're in a digital community now, and so the opportunities are endless. I talked about research before, so the affiliates like ours, Gilda's Club South Florida, we provide direct services to patients and families. Our national office, Cancer Support Community, they're the ones that do the research, and it's not medical research on certain types of cancers. It's psychosocial research. So we're about the patient experience. What's happening that's different for sarcoma patients and their caregivers versus breast cancer patients, versus lung cancer patients. We want to see what the needs are. In cancer, we find that the most sought after need is nutritional services in many cancers, but there are a lot of distinguishing differences. And so we have about 13,000 patients in our research registry, and they tell us about the cancer experience, and that's how we learn what those needs are and how we can best serve those needs. Anyone who would like to participate in the Cancer Experience Registry can. They can go to cancerexperienceregistry.org, and you're going to be asked a lot of questions, whether you're a patient or a caregiver, about your particular experience and what it was like. And that information is used to drive practice and drive the services that we provide. We also have a grassroots movement. Our national office focuses on policy, and we partner with other organizations around the country because we are stronger with numbers. When we sign a petition, sometimes there are 50 other cancer organizations that are also signing. That's not my expertise. I'm concerned with building an organization and providing services to people who are walking through our doors. But our national office is getting that information and saying, hey, Kim, you need to be aware of step therapy. You need to be aware of these things that are hurting patients, and we want you to write a letter. We want you to call your congressman. we want you to call your senator, because it's really important. So that's, that's really the arm of our national organization. And that's it, of Gilda's Club and Cancer Support Community, and I'll be around for a while to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Lori. We do have an impromptu speaker. Stephanie, are you in the room? Okay, yes, come on up. So it is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and Stephanie represents a group who's focused on adolescents and young adults. So come on up and give a little spiel.
Okay. First of all, good afternoon. I'm Stephanie Davila. Alex Davila was a patient of Dr. Adamastro. 13 years ago, he had osteosarcoma. This angel helped him to live 15 more months until he went to heaven. However, his legacy is still alive. This Youth Foundation Against Cancer is a non-profit organization. It's a non-profit organization that fights for teenagers that have cancer. We rely on the ability of young people and adults to build a better world. His legacy was this foundation of Young People Against Cancer, which serves 1,200 patients, children, youth, and adults with different types of cancer. It's in Ecuador. What we do, we strengthen the psycho-emotional part, we bring hope, and we fight for medications and timely treatments. Throughout events, emotional support, different types of help among this family, we try to strengthen the bond between the patient and his family, the world, and their futures. And also we hope to hold on to life. Here we are all a family, a support, and a ray of light, love, and future. What we do is because of my brother, and we try to help every single young people or adult that doesn't have this love, and we bring them to this foundation so they can keep living, they can keep fighting, because we know how cancer is. Even if you don't have it, you can feel it, you can have empathy, you can give a part of yourself. And in this foundation, it's more like a family, because you have to be with them every day. You share experience, you share feelings, and eventually you get to learn more about life. You get to feel empathy not only with them, but also you get to love what you have, the family that you have, yourself, and you get this power to keep moving forward with them, help with them. So this foundation is in Ecuador, and we're trying to move it to here to keep doing projects. We have this big program which is called the Bionic Fashion Day, and it's like have you seen those fashion shows with people that has a lot of cool dresses and stuff? Well, this fashion show, it's with people that have amputations, and they like dress as they never thought they would, and they do this little event where they show what they have, who they really are, and we have done this for the past, I think it's 4 years in Ecuador, Bolivia, and Venezuela. So we're trying to do the same event here, maybe next year. So that's the Foundation of Young People with Cancer in Ecuador. Thank you for your attention.
Beautifully said, Stephanie. Thank you so much for sharing more with this group. So now I think we'll take questions in the panel format. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
Hi, thank you so much for being here today. I just want to let you know that I really became acquainted with, well, Gilda Radner because of my age growing up, but there's a wonderful documentary about her, and it segues into Gilda's Club on Hulu called Love Gilda. So if anybody hasn't seen it, you need a laugh and you want to learn more about her journey, because she does go through her treatment. It's pretty phenomenal. And then the other point about Sarcoma Awareness Month and turning it to legislative, I think everybody here at Sarcoma Alliance knows how passionate I am about what we can do on a grassroots effort. I applaud the efforts that you're trying to do with, changing legislation, but that seems to be a difficult road. So you're looking towards the month of July, looking towards 2020, I encourage anybody who has a garden in their neighborhood, something in a public space, ask the government, local town if you can plant yellow flowers, if you can plant sunflowers, if you can get a light up going on, a bridge, a building. All these things contribute to building awareness for us, because making that big change, I think, is going to be really hard. But I think locally, within all of us, we all have that power to make those small changes, which ultimately may and probably will impact what you're trying to do on a bigger level. That's it.
And on that front, it has been, there's discussions, there's the Sarcoma Coalition, there's groups who are working on these kinds of awareness issues in all sorts of capacities. And there's been talk about, well, what are some of the different ways that we can do it? The national resolution, I think, has been a goal for a lot of people for a long time, but you're right, we're seeing how challenging at times that really can be. And there are roadblocks, there are rules roadblocks in the House of Representatives that make it more challenging. There are other bigger cancers that have champions that are easily identifiable, and unfortunately, we struggle to identify who some of those people can be on behalf of the sarcoma community. But there's talk about, again, Annie has brought up, how can we do this on the state level? Who are the people who are on the grassroots level in those communities that can work on these kinds of issues? And I think that all of us are interested in those different, mechanisms, but the manpower and the lift sometimes feels also like a roadblock in kind of harnessing everybody to work together and try to figure out how to do it. But I absolutely agree. I think there's so many great ways that we can all raise awareness that we don't necessarily think that we're doing, that doesn't seem like that big flashing light, but all of those little activities make such a big difference in the grand scheme of things.
Can I add to that? I think, with social media, we all have that ability to, look what somebody did. I mean, we've been posting things that we do on the Sarcoma Alliance website. Everybody has that power. I think, we see small stories of somebody who's done something locally that has blown up into big stories, and that's how we're finding people who have sarcoma. So, don't think anybody in this room can't do a little something that might make a big difference and touch hearts. So, that's it.
Thank you. Minnesota has had a governor's proclamation for sarcoma for about 10 years. And my conversation with Lori has always been, if we could all go out to our governors and try to find the templates in our state where we could have at least a state awareness of sarcoma, would be very helpful and very impactful if it's in our state. I think that would be very helpful. And we were successful in 2016 with congressional approval for leiomyosarcoma, and it's really tough to get it after that. But it was amazing that we made it in 2016, and we're still trying every year for the same champions in the Senate. What we need is bipartisan support for this. But I think that going to our states for the governor proclamations would be really helpful, and I know it's been very nice for Minnesota and probably other states that I don't even know.
Yeah, there are quite a few states where there's been action, whether it's by their legislature or by their governor's office.
And it would dovetail with that, plant yellow in your garden. That would be great.
I have 2 teenagers at home who are members of Academic Decathlon, and the National Academic Decathlon topic this year is in sickness and in health, and the science topic this year is the physiology of cancer, which is a lot of irony going on at my house. And what I'm going to ask them to do is to contact organizations, if that's okay, because some, there are cancer topics represented, But I think it would be a great time for them to reach out and for Sarcoma to be better represented with that group, which is millions of students and their teachers throughout the United States, high school students who are learning about this topic this year, who may not be as aware of cancer, who are looking, many of them are looking at future medical careers.
Yeah, I think that's great to try to make that connection. And I know, I feel like I can speak for all of us, that I think all of our organizations would be very interested in pursuing something like that.
Hi, my name is Marnie Russo, and I know we're talking about social media, and I just wanted to let some of the people know, especially those with liposarcoma, which unfortunately my husband lost his life to. There are lots of Facebook pages and groups, rather, that support the specific support of the specific sarcomas. I know that there were some in here that have liposarcoma who we've actually met through the group and all got together here. And I just really urge people to maybe reach out to some people on Facebook in those specific groups, because they're just like you, and the amount of support that you get from those other people who can only really truly understand what you're going through, because they're going through it themselves. It is just, I mean, it's priceless. So if anyone has liposarcoma and is not part of the groups, please let me know and I'd be happy to add you to those.
I think that's a really important point to make. There are so many really valuable subtype-specific organizations, some of whom are in this room, that I encourage you to view the exhibit tables, get plugged in with those organizations, because they do truly know the journey as well. So we wanted to represent all of the pan-sarcoma groups today and folks who are serving the broader community, but absolutely, definitely get plugged in with those groups as well. Does anybody else have any other questions? Are we going to move to breakouts? Oh, you want to make?
I just want
Yeah. Go
something
ahead.
just something that Kim said that this is such a good example of the power of the sarcoma community, is that actually we just recently partnered with the national organization Cancer Support Community on an effort that they were doing to try on a program we're calling Voice, and to get more data on patient experience. And I got an email back after we promoted it through social media and through an email. And they came back and they said, wow, they were blown away by this community's response when we ask for help, when we ask for patient input, when we ask for caregiver input, whatever it might be. The sarcoma community never fails to share. And they really were impressed by the way that we didn't have to beg for people to give input. I said it's because this community wants their voice heard, wants to tell their stories, and it's a great partnership. It shows that we're all trying to work with different organizations, but I just thought the power of seeing somebody else recognize that this community has a voice and wants to make it heard was something I wanted you guys to know.
Thank you, and I will say that if there are any other opportunities that you think there might be a partnership and a collaboration to do something like that, please reach out.
All right, thank you. Okay, I think I need to queue up my next. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Kim.